Hey everyone, and welcome back. So as I've been going through this process, one of the questions I get the most is the BRRRR method, how it can be applied to rental properties, and what exactly it is. If you're searching on Google or YouTube, BRRRR method has so many questions and so much content around it. It's one of those topics that's really hot for rental properties and real estate investing in general. So why does it have so much attention? So before we get too into the weeds, the BRRRR method stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. The idea here is to force appreciation in a short amount of time, which allows you to take your investment back out of the house and invest it into something new. It's an investment process that allows real estate investors and rental property owners who don't have a lot of cash on hand to be able to scale their business a lot more quickly. In a previous video, I talked about why just investing in 1 or 2 rental properties a year won't make you rich quick. And a lot of this is because of the time it takes to save up for that down payment you need to buy a rental property. For most people, including myself, it can take a few months up to a couple years just to save up for that down payment to get a rental property. Once you bought that rental property and it's cash flowing, you then have to start the process all over again to buy the next one. So the hardest part of it and the thing that takes the longest to do is saving up for that down payment. With the BRRRR method, the idea is that you can quickly recoup your investment after you've bought a property, and that allows you to buy a new property a lot quicker than if you just had to save up your own money again and again. So exactly how does this work? I'll walk through each of the 5 steps of the BRRRR method to explain how you can use it to your advantage. So the first step is buying. This step is pretty obvious, but it's also a very crucial first step. The biggest way to make money on an investment property isn't necessarily rent or what you sell the house for, it's really what you purchase the house for. If you buy a house for an overvalued market price, it's going to be a lot harder for you to play catch up and to be able to make up the money that you technically lost during your purchase. One of the ideal goals that people say for an investment property is you don't want to spend more than 80% of what it's valued for to actually purchase the home. That means that 20% is essentially kind of like money in your pocket. And when you're planning on doing rehab, that number should be even lower. Obviously, the ideal situation is you buying that house in all cash, but again, if you're cash strapped, just make sure that the financing program you use through whichever lender you choose is a good one. So on to step 2, which is the rehab. So your goal in this rehab stage is to add value to the home that will force appreciation on the house. The key here is to really focus on just the upgrades that will add value to your home. Don't get distracted by adding, high-end luxury appliances, whirlpool, bathtub, those kind of things that really don't do anything for your house. Some of the upgrades you should really focus on are adding a bathroom, adding energy efficient appliances, and if the house is older, making updates to places like the kitchen. Adding a fresh coat of paint inside always helps as well. And then also look at, adding curb appeal to your house, maybe updating or adding shutters if there aren't there, and then also adding fresh exterior paint too. Just make sure you don't go overboard with the landscaping. And absolutely stay away from upgrades that will actually decrease the value of your house, like adding a swimming pool. Absolutely do not add a swimming pool. Once you've added those upgrades and changes, your third step is to rent out the house. This seems counterintuitive that you would rent out the house before refinancing, but the truth is a lot of banks and lenders don't actually want to refinance a house that no one's living in. If you're one of those people that likes to live in the property as you make the updates and that's your primary residence, then you're totally fine. But if you're using it as a sole rental property and it's vacant, you're gonna have a hard time convincing the bank to refinance it if there's no one there. It's just more risky for the bank because not only do you not live there, but there's also no income being generated by renting. But once you have a renter in the property, you can move on to step 4, which is refinancing. If you did the work that you needed to do with the rehab, you can now refinance your house for a higher appraised value than what you bought it for. A lot of banks will only refinance for up to 70 to 80% of what the house is worth because they do want to keep equity in the house. This is why rehabbing it to get it to a point where the value is higher and then also your purchase price is very important here. The bigger the gap between your total expenses and the value of the property, the better. And your expenses include not only your purchase price, but your rehab costs as well. You want to keep those to a minimum and try to get the highest value on the house possible. So the ideal situation with the BRRRR method is that after you refinance, you're able to take your original investment, which is, your down payment and closing costs from when you purchased the house, and be able to pull that out because that is the gap between your expenses and the new value of the home. That original investment you can leave in the house and leave it as equity, which means lower down payments for you. And if you have a renter, that means that you have a higher cash flow per month. You can also just take that money out and invest it into a new property. And that's what leads us to step 5, which is repeat. So this one is pretty self-explanatory. After you refinance, you're able to take that cash, if you so choose, and use it to buy a new property. So that is an overview of the BRRRR method and how you use it to quickly scale your rental property business. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like the video, and if you have any questions, please comment below. If you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe because I do put out weekly content regarding real estate investing. As always, thank you for watching and thank you for supporting me. It really does mean a lot to me. And with that, I will talk to you guys soon.